This evening we are having our meetings recorded. MCM and KLYC. KLYC is doing a direct feed cast on this, and so if you would please turn off your cell phones or silence them. If for any reason you are receive a call or need to make a call, if you could go out to the lobby so that wouldn't interfere with the proceedings of this meeting. We're going to start this evening with an invitation to citizens for public comment, and anyone that would like to speak to the council may do so, with the exception of a topic that's already on the agenda, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. Matters in litigation, a quasi-judicial land use matter, or a matter scheduled for a public hearing at some future date. We've already had an individual come up and indicate that they would like to address our Bag It Better, which is one of the resolutions that we have, or it's an ordinance, I guess it would be, on the agenda tonight. And so I will allow individuals very shortly, for a short period of time, no more than 4 minutes, to address that. But we do have that ordinance before us tonight. So anyone that would like to share comments for us, and then anyone that would have any other comments outside of those parameters. Go ahead.
First of all, my name is Dan Hilbert, and I live at 875 Northeast 19th Street.
Good. If after your comments, if you could sign in, Dan, for the record.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So before I begin, I want to thank all the council members and the mayor for serving as the city council, because they contribute their time to help run our city. So sometimes the issues, though, that you have in front of you are not clear, and sometimes mistakes are being made. But in this case, if you make the mistake of voting for the van, it may have serious consequences. Now, I know that this body is probably going to vote for the ban, but I might add a caveat or two before this decree becomes law. Beware of those who instigated this ban, the zero waste gang. They are ill-informed and misdirected, and in many cases, intellectually impoverished. And they are being misled by the chief proponent, a person who doesn't even live in MCMinnville. In fact, few of these zeros even live in our city, yet they want all residents of MCMinnville to conform to their battle cry. So I have some advice. If you should encounter someone who is irate or indignant over the ban, just ignore them, as you have been doing in the past. Don't let these itinerant detractors influence you with the facts. But just in case you really care, let's have a look at the facts. Banning plastic bags will increase the number of paper bags by a factor of 4. Many studies have shown that paper bags are worse for the environment than plastic bags. In addition to cutting down more trees, it takes more energy and resources to create, ship, and stock paper bags. A stack of 1,000 plastic bags is only 4 inches high. A stack of 1,000 paper bags is 4 feet high. It's going to take more time and space to keep an adequate supply in the checkout line, and more delays for the shopper. Some stores will go through 1,000 bags in a 4-hour period. Bag bans are never voted on by the people, unless it's a tax, but they wouldn't enact a tax because that would require a vote by the citizens. And you know that if it came to a vote, citizens would vote no. Instead, the city has decided to take your money and give it to these plastic police who have decided that you don't count. The organizers of this racket have already filched $5,000 of city's funds, your money, to keep this charade going. They intend to obtain more money from the city's coffers for another 7 years, as stated in their mission statement. Plastic bag bans are being implemented by city council members to make them feel good about themselves. Let's face it. They regard the rest of us as patsies. They think we are so gullible and that we all possess a gross malfunction of intellectual capacity that they can order us around at their command. Well, they are wrong. We know what's going on, and they know. They will claim that they carefully weighed the evidence, but it was a done deal from the start. They will feel as though they have actually accomplished something. Hey, we're going green, they will joyfully announce, when in fact they have done nothing but muddy the waters. At the end of the day, thousands of citizens will be inconvenienced, businesses will be hurt, people will be angry, and public health will be threatened. There may be huge protests in the future in response to this violation of freedoms to use plastic bags. Imagine someone shopping at the dollar store, and when they take their groceries, when they take their items to the checkout counter, they will have bought plastic knives, forks, and spoons, plastic plates, plastic dishes, plastic glasses, plastic containers, and they will put all this plastic in a paper bag because the city council said that's the way we go green. Haha. 2,000 years from now, archaeologists will dig up various objects that once was the site of a landfill. Of course, every item they uncover will be in the same condition as if it were recently put there. That's because landfills, where trash is dumped, are tightly compacted, and therefore there is very little oxygen and no sunlight to decompose these objects. This trash will remain unmolested by subterranean organisms for a long time. So it really doesn't matter if it's a rocking chair, a toaster, a cardboard box, a PlayStation, a vibrator, a tanning bed, or even a plastic bag. They are all contributing to the pollution of this planet. Singling out a plastic bag as a prime suspect is grossly inadequate, irresponsible, and wrong-headed. I took the time to inquire of 5 outlets how they felt about the upcoming ban. Without exception, all 5 were staunchly against it. 3 of the managers said that their recycling programs have been very successful. So why is the city punishing us and its residents for achieving an outstanding objective? So for my part, I'm going to violate that ban every turn. I will use the plastic bags that are furnished by the store for various vegetables, condiments, candy, etc. I just will not use any paper or any other form of conveyance. I may even adorn my vehicle with plastic grocery bags just to evoke a horrified response from the zeros, just for the devilment, of course. Oh, the horrors of plastic bags. So that's all I have to say, but I have some questions. Who's going to monitor all these stores to see if they're complying?
Dan, we don't have a public hearing on this tonight. You missed that, or you may have been a part of that. So we're just taking testimony tonight from you.
Okay, all right, so I'll have to call up maybe tomorrow and find out that information.
Okay, and feel free to give us a call tomorrow. Give me a call tomorrow. You can pick up my card, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, Scott, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Uh-huh. Any other open comments that anyone would like to make this evening? Go ahead.
Yeah, on the YCTA committee, I understand that the MCMinnville position is open, is that correct?
We have filled that with a counselor that we have one of the city councilors that's going to be taking that position.
Oh, okay, because I thought I was going to recommend Florence Hoffman for that position.
Yeah, we've been a little slow in getting those positions put together, but tonight we brought the full list out tonight. So that is a position that we're going to fill from a council perspective. Thank you. Any other? Hearing none, then we'll go ahead and close our public comment section. Let's go ahead and We have before us our consent agenda this evening. Let me go through the items that are part of that. Minutes of the January 10th, 2017 dinner and regular meeting. We have a request by Splash Gallery for a new liquor license at 405 Northeast 3rd Street, Suite 8 and 9. We have a request by Three Mary Cellars, LLC, for a new liquor license at 845 Northeast 5th Street. We have a request by the Jackson Family Wines, DBA Conser Cellars C, for a new liquor license at 3500 and 3600 Southeast 3rd Mile Lane. We have a request by Vertical Successes, LLC, for a new liquor license at 448 Northeast 3rd Street. And we have a resolution number 2017-8, resolution authorizing the approval of a cooperative exchange agreement between the City of MCMinnville and the Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT, known as the 2017 Fund Exchange Agreement number 31871. Any counselors or member of the audience that would request that we have any item removed from the consent agenda? Okay. Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I so move. A second.
It has been moved by Councillor Menke and seconded by Councillor Stassens that we approve the consent agenda as approved. All in favor may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? Show that the consent agenda has been approved unanimously. Now, what we're going to do at this point tonight is we're going to open a joint meeting with our Urban Renewal Agency as we have our audited financials that are going to be presented to us. So I'm going to open the joint a meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency this evening, which is February 14th, 2017. And I'm going to call on our financial director, Marcia, to share where we're headed at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. We have with us this evening Ms. Tanya Moffett, who is the partner from Marina and Company. Marina and Company, this was the first year that they did our audit for us. And I just wanted to say that Tanya and her staff were a pleasure to work with us to overcome some challenges that we had this year, including a couple of ice storms in the middle of the audit. And they were very professional and very helpful. Marina and Company is a firm in West Lynn that specializes in governmental auditing. And Tanya is here with us this evening to talk with you about the audit for the city financial statements, the single audit, and also to speak with the Urban Renewal Agency Board about the urban renewal audit. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I'm happy to present the City of McMinnville's Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the year ending June 30, 2016. One thing to note about this is that it's a comprehensive annual financial report, and it doesn't just state that it's an annual financial report. This is a high honor that the city receives from the Government Finance Officers Association. So the city has some extra stuff in their financial statements, including the transmittal letter and then the statistical section, which is at the back of the financial statements, which includes 10 years worth of data. This is an honor that is very prestigious and it's difficult to achieve, so I'm happy to report that the city received it for the June 30, 2015 financial statement, so you'll see that award presented in here, and we anticipate that the city will receive that for the June 30, 2016 financial statements as well. It just goes to show you the high caliber of financial statement reporting that the city is putting out, and specifically the finance department under Marcia's lead. It's a very prestigious award, so I want to note that tonight. I'm happy to report that for the city's financial statements and also for the MCMinnville Urban Renewal Agency, we have a unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. That's the highest opinion that we can give on a financial statement. This means that we didn't find any material misstatements or any findings when we were doing the audit. That's great. One of the other things that I would like to point out is that in the back of the financial statements, so on page 183, there's an independent auditor's report required by Oregon state regulations. The state legislature has mandated the Oregon state auditors that we specifically look at some things that are not necessarily financial related. So for example, we look at public purchasing, so ORS 279. We ensure that the city is going through compliance with public notifications so that you're receiving bids and you're appointing contracts appropriately. We also look to make sure that you're in compliance with Oregon budget law. So there's a few things that the state says that they would like us to look at. I'm happy to report that we have no findings for the city or for the urban renewal under the independent auditor's reports required by Oregon state regulations. And then on the next page, we go through and we talk about internal controls. I'm also happy to report that the city and the urban renewal do not have any reportable deficiencies that would rise to the level of a material weakness or a significant deficiency. So it's a clean opinion. There's no findings in either the city's financial statements or the urban renewal's financial statements. And then we also have the City of MCMinnville's single audit report. So anytime that an entity receives federal funding over $750,000, then they go through a single audit. A single audit includes compliance with grant agreements and ensuring that the city is spending that money appropriately. I'm happy to report that we have no audit findings in the single audit either. So in all three reports, they are clean opinions and we have no findings. I do want to point out one thing. If you are comparing the June 30, 2016 financial statements to the June 30, 2015 financial statements, one thing that you will see that's different is there was a pronouncement that came out last year, GASB 68. It's a pension-related asset, or a pension-related disclosure. Last year, the financial statements reported a net pension asset. So what that means is that for Oregon State PERS, the entire state, they were saying that PERS was overfunded. So it showed an asset in June 30, 2015. For June 30, 2016, there was a court case, the Morrow case, which basically said that the COLA increases were not able to be counted for the PERS. And so now, for June 30, 2016, we're showing a net pension liability. So don't think that this is something that's specific to City of MCMinnville. It's everybody that's in Oregon State PERS. I wouldn't be that concerned about it. What I would look at is to make sure that the city is paying their required contributions. So on page 93 of the financial statements, there's a report, the schedule of contributions. It shows what's statutorily required. Again, that page is 93. And then it shows what the city contributed, and it shows that there's no deficiency or excess. So in my opinion, if the city is able to make those statutory requirements, that's what you need to be concerned about, the cash outflow. Those statutory requirements are taking into consideration those future potential liabilities that are going to be coming out of Oregon State PERS. So really, don't be concerned with that net pension liability on the face of the financial statements. This is what's more important, that the city's meeting those requirements. So I just wanted to point that out, because if you look at them, it's going to look very funny because it goes from one way to the other. So that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me?
To my left, any questions? To my right? What I will do is ask the audit committee had an opportunity to meet before this meeting and go over in very detail, an hour and a half worth of going through the materials. And so I just have Kelly update the council a little bit from her perspective as a member of the audit committee. Kelly?
We spent about an hour and a half going through it and spent a great deal of time on certain areas of the audit, particularly the retirement fund or the PERS funding and things like that. I was extremely impressed with the presentation. When we interviewed the different audit firms this last year before the audit season began, we were really very impressed with Marina, and particularly Tanya as the lead on the audit, and made a decision after 10 years of going with another firm to switch firms, and we've been very happy with them, particularly since they were working through a very rough winter here in Oregon, coming in from Portland and making this work. Felt very comfortable in all aspects, and they had nothing but good things to say about our finance department, which is not surprising, but we were very pleased with that. And also congratulations on another year of getting that award, because that was a pretty big deal. It's not everybody that gets it. It's a very hard thing to achieve, the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. So congratulations to Marcia and her team. Am I forgetting anything?
I think...
We're very pleased overall.
And we were told that we were going to have a single audit again next year, just because of the work that's being done on the airport and the amount of monies that are going to be coming in this fiscal year. So we will have one more year of single audits, and then that ceiling may rise. That will keep us, or we won't have to go through single audit. But in reality, as Tanya was saying, that was...
Potentially two. I think
Two,
two more
okay.
years.
That has an opportunity to look at federal funding and state funding also. And so we delve into those grants that we receive. So again, Marcia, share with your staff how excited and how pleased we are with the ongoing work. And then I know that you've turned all of your focus over to the budget right now, and we're excited to get down that. And in just a moment, you can give us our mid-year review on that. So
I'll say one other thing.
Go ahead.
The finance department's been kind of working, they have been shorthanded for the last year, probably a little bit longer, and we appreciate all that they've done to make this work out. And so I'm sure it is Marina and Company. But
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for acknowledging staff. And as we were talking about at the audit committee meeting, all of these 225 pages of the CAFR start with the transactions that occur every day. And so I think that the departments and all of their employees who comply with our internal controls and are very conscientious about making sure that things are recorded accurately also deserve credit for this award.
Thank you, Marcia. Again, any questions from councilors? If not, then I will close the Urban Renewal Agency. And now what we will move towards is the mid-year budget review. And so I'll call on Marcia again to present that review to us. Tanya, thank you, and I hope you're feeling better. She was under the weather, and she came out and today and spent some time with us.
Thank you again, Mayor Hill and councilors. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight about the city's general fund budget. As I mentioned in my staff report to you, the purpose of the mid-year budget review is to provide an overview of the current fiscal year and also to give a preview of the budget year that is ahead of us, 2017-18. The report did recap some of the information that was presented to you in November of 2016, which was the first quarter budget review. And for example, we reported that beginning balances and general fund revenues were consistent with the budget. That included property taxes, so really there were no changes that were necessary there. However, we did adjust estimates for the current year for expenditures to reflect the addition of 3 additional police officers and the decision to not fill 2 budgeted park maintenance positions or to add the Saturday morning library hours. So in the table in the middle of the page that you see there, the column on the right represents the reserve as a percentage of annual expenditures. And that includes the changes that I just mentioned. As you know, the City Council adopted a fund balance policy in 2011 that established a goal for the general fund reserves. So generally, a reserve of 25% of annual expenditures is adequate to meet cash flow needs, bond credit rating requirements, and be able to meet any unforeseen emergencies that might happen. You may note that according to that column on the right-hand side, it's possible that we may meet that 25% threshold at the end of 2017-18. I did want to mention, however, that the policy does not require that the reserve be maintained at 25%. Under the challenges in 2017-18 and beyond, I've listed PERS, employer contribution rates, and as Tanya spoke about that briefly just a few minutes ago, I wanted to mention again, as you've heard this before, that PERS is continuing to recommend that we budget for the maximum increases for the next several bienniums ahead of us. Mayor Hill mentioned today actually that you were told the same thing at the Capitol this year. There's really not an easy fix for PERS, unfortunately. The rates that we pay as the employer are contingent on that funding level for the liability. So currently, PERS has assets that cover about 71% of that liability. So there's a shortfall there. And there's really only 2 ways for them to make up for that shortfall, and one is the investments, or earnings on their investments, and employer contributions. So that's the only 2 sources of funding that they have. We really wouldn't expect that there would be a spike in investment returns that would cover that large of a shortfall. So the difference has to be made up by the employers. And as Tanya also mentioned, the problem is really systemic with PERS because the largest part of the obligation is owed to employees that were hired before in 1996, and that's when the legislature actually began to reduce some of the pension benefits for retired employees. We know that the Oregon legislators and the PERS board are discussing some changes that could, over time, reduce the unfunded liability. Unfortunately, we really do not see any immediate relief in sight. So to somewhat mitigate the impact of these future rate increases, the city did execute a bank loan in October of 2016, and the loan was for $3.5 million, and the city used the proceeds to pay off the PERS transition liability. So in effect, what the city did is we replaced the liability, the PERS liability, which had an interest rate of 7.5%, with a bank loan that had an interest rate of 2.75%. So that's a pretty significant difference, and we expect that over the 10-year life of the loan, we'll have about $950,000 in savings. The other thing that it really is working in our favor is that the demographics of our employee population is shifting. So employees that were hired before 2003 are Tier 1, Tier 2, and they are the most expensive because they have the richest benefit. The employees hired after 2003 are known as OPSERP employees, and the rates that we pay on those employees is significantly less than the Tier 1, Tier 2 because the benefit is less. The other challenge I believe that we have ahead of us is repairs and maintenance on our city facilities. As you know, the fire station, police station, aquatic center, senior center, community center, all of these buildings, the maintenance for all of these buildings is paid for out of the general fund. And in the current year's budget, we have a little over $200,000 budgeted for building repairs and improvements. These buildings that I just mentioned have a net value of about $15 million, so $200,000 will not go a long ways with doing repairs on all of those buildings. And based on current resources, we really expect that the funds available for repairs and maintenance on the buildings will continue to be limited. And so we will continue to defer repairs and maintenance projects into the future, as we have for the last several years. So on a more positive note, we have state and local marijuana tax. According to the LOC, the state is estimating that they'll distribute a little over $7 million in marijuana tax, and they will distribute that in August of 2017, and that will be for the entire biennium of 2015 through 2017. Then after they do that initial catch-up distribution in August, the distributions will be made quarterly. So the state, it will be using a statutory distribution formula that is not based solely on per capita as our revenue sharing and cigarette and liquor taxes are. So it's really difficult to predict how much tax the city will receive from the state of that 7.1 million. And the state is also collecting, fortunately, our local marijuana tax as well. And we will receive the first distribution of that local tax in August also. And again, until then, it's really very hard to predict how much we will receive. Unfortunately, without receiving that first distribution until August of 17, we will, of course, have adopted our budget at that point, and budgets can also be amended, though, if we end up with more tax than what we anticipate.
May I ask a question right here?
Yes.
By my memory, all of those funds were slated for public safety. So if that's so, how will that assist with the challenges we're facing with PERS?
Well, as you know, about 70% of the city's costs are salaries and fringe benefits, and the department with the largest share of salaries is the police department and fire. So as the PERS rates go up, it's a pretty significant increase that's relating to pay those public safety salaries.
Great, thank you.
So in other good news that we have for property tax revenue, the bankruptcy proceedings on the holdings at Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum and the Wings and Waves Water Park have been completed, as you know. With the sale of those Evergreen properties, all the delinquent taxes have been collected and turned over to the city, and we expect that the new owners will add value to those properties and hopefully remain current on their tax payments. As we discussed with the council at the goal-setting meeting recently, the management team is beginning to look at long-range financial and strategic planning. We feel that that's very important to help us address the challenges that we just talked about, but also with the goal of ultimately achieving long-term financial sustainability. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of guidance from the Government Finance Officers Association about long-range financial planning and strategic planning and how important it is. And it talks about, really, it's aligning our services with our financial resources. So what we as a staff will begin to do is really defining the scope and the objectives of that long-range financial planning, because it can be extremely extensive and take a long time, and it could be more focused on what we feel our objectives are. So I think that's where we need to start the conversation. The 2017-18 proposed budget, right around the corner, that will be presented to the Budget Committee on May 17th, 2017 at 6 p.m. And at that meeting, along with the proposed budget, we will bring a long-term forecast that is based on the proposed budget, and it will include that proposed budget for 17-18 and also the 4 subsequent years, so we can really see the impact of the PERS since the rates change in July of 17 and then they change again in July of 2019. It will be easier to see the impact of those increases with that 5-year forecast. The staff is really looking forward to partnering with our new city manager, and we will bring a strategic and a forward-looking budget to the committee for their consideration in May. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
So any questions for Marcia off of the budget?
Congratulations on all the applications you've received.
Thank you
Fairly
very
well
much.
deserved.
Thank you.
Marcia, you talked a little bit about the evergreen assets that are being brought in some instances back on the tax rolls. What are we using as an appreciation or a growth in appreciation of property in MCMinnville as a whole? Is that a 4% growth, or what do you, off the top of your head, remember what that might look like?
Yes, we got about a 4%, a little over a 4% increase in assessed value for 2016-17. At this time, we've all included that same 4% in 17-18 and for the subsequent years of the forecast. I'm not sure if I had mentioned, I am working with a consultant who is doing a lot of legwork and a lot of research on different aspects that are included in the forecast, the assumptions that we use, which of course are critical. And one of those has to do with our assessed values. So we would be looking at building permits and SDCs. We'd be looking at the permits that the planning department has, talking to the county assessor, and wanting to make sure, because that is such a significant part of the general fund budget. You know, it's a 5-year forecast, but the more information that we can have, the better. So we do have 4% in the budget and the forecast at this time.
Thank you. If no other questions, again, take back to the staff how much we appreciate. We know that Chris broke his foot, didn't he?
Yes.
And he's hobbling around and being down a full staff member. But we look forward to the city manager and department heads working on that budget. And again, we avail ourselves in any shape or form that we can be helpful in that process also. We're looking forward to May 17th and being able to participate in those budget discussions. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to our ordinances this evening, and we have ordinance number 5018, a ordinance restricting the distribution of single-use plastic bags. I'll turn the time over to our city attorney, David, for a report.
Sure. We'll call this the first reading of ordinance number 5018, ordinance restricting the distribution of single-use plastic bags. As the council will recall, there was a public hearing held on this at the last council meeting.
Thank you too well. Can you make this
Helps if I turned on my microphone. How's that? All right. So this is ordinance number 5018, an ordinance restricting the distribution of single-use plastic bags. As the council will recall, on January 24th, the last council meeting, there was a public hearing on this matter, and testimony was received from several members of the public. Coming out of that public hearing, council requested certain changes be made to the ordinance, specifically clarifying the implementation period, 6-month and 1-year implementation periods based on the size of the stores, as well as providing for a hardship for up to 6 months, I believe, for stores that were having trouble complying. And in addition, I think there were a couple of other minor changes that we made. So the ordinance is being brought back to you tonight for your review and decision regarding whether you want to pass the ordinance.
So, council, you've had an opportunity to see the revised ordinance that included changes that we instructed David to put into the ordinance. Any questions of David any discussion that we'd have. I'll just start with Councilor Rudin, and then we'll work our way down. Alan, any discussions or questions?
No, just, I don't have any questions on it. I know there's been compelling testimony on both sides of the issue, and we've talked about this a little bit about my mic on too. Compelling testimony on both sides of the issue, and we really appreciate the involvement in the community on that. So that's all. I have a personal bias we've been kind of doing it ourselves, our family, of eliminating plastic for a few years now, and so that puts me at a place where I would favor it for sure. So.
Okay. Remy?
Nothing really to add or nothing new. I think the only thing that I would like to say is that I certainly don't think of the citizenry here as patsies, as was indicated earlier. I don't believe it was a foregone conclusion, and I certainly don't know how the citizens of MCMinnville would vote if this was put to them. But I feel as though we have been diligent in both educating ourselves and listening to both sides of the argument of the issue or the argument, as Alan said, and I feel confident moving forward.
Thank you. Wendy?
I mirror some of the comments of the other counselors that have spoken so far. I feel as if we have gotten some good information about what's happened in other communities. I feel as if we have taken into consideration everybody's input from businesses and citizens, and I still feel like this would be a positive addition to our city in taking responsibility for the resources that are being created and how businesses function within our city. So I still am in support of the ordinance.
Thank you, Wendy. Adam?
Definitely mirror the comments that have already been stated. In addition to that, I think it's a very positive step with the possibility of a transfer station being located close to Joe Dancer Park in the years to come. And I would hate to see that beautiful park be a wind blow of a plastic bag. And I really appreciate all the due diligence and all the comments from both sides. I think that, I personally, and I know the rest of the council, definitely took everybody's testimony into consideration, and it was nice to get out and be engaged with different members of the community, private citizens and businesses alike. And I just look forward to moving forward and seeing this go through.
Thank you, Adam. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm definitely in support of the ordinance, but I also think we need to kind of get out in front of a myth with this one. This is not a ban on consumers using these bags. The entire thing was directed at businesses, all of whom we've reached out to, and they are either they're not in any opposition to this. In fact, the Grocers Association, the grocers are the ones who this is directed towards, has issued us a letter that they support this type of behavior. So I just want to make sure that it's very clear to the public. This is in no way just hampering your civil liberties or your ability to use plastic bags. You can continue to use them. The stores will not be offering them. That's the difference.
And Council President Menke.
I think there's been some great civic discourse on this. I applaud Councilor Jeffries for his comments, and I don't think I have anything else to add.
And although I don't vote on this, my thought is this has been a 10-year process for the council. This is not something that we just jumped into yesterday, but sustainability and understanding what we can do and ought to be responsible for is a process of learning that we have taken that journey. Much like everything else we do at the city, we don't do anything on the spur of the moment, but we truly spend time and effort to research it and have come up with what we feel very comfortable with as we've given this charge to our attorney to come up with an ordinance. Again, I would share with you that for us, it's not to use paper bags over plastic. It's to use reusable cloth bags that we're not going to use or be putting things back into our landfills at all. And that would be our intent. And you know, I know that like Alan, we have started to do that more regularly. And I'll tell you, if you can remember to bring those cloth bags, it's as easy as it's not going to put anyone at a spot where it's going to be uncomfortable to do what needs to be done. So again, I just reiterate that paper bags are not a direction that we want to go. Alan?
Yeah, just to, now that my memory's been jogged on this from our public hearing, and the question came up as far as who's going to monitor this, I'm really hoping that we build community and teamwork, and we monitor it ourselves between the businesses and the patrons, and that our community grows in that respect, and we're doing our little bit of changing the world. One little bit at a time, and I think we can grow as a community by doing so. And as far as rough edges, there may be a few when we get started of transitioning from one to the other, but I think that's going to smooth out everybody's. I think it's all going to work for our benefit in the long run. Okay.
Thank you. Well, hearing no further comment, we'll ask David to read the ordinance by title only.
This is ordinance number 5018, an ordinance restricting the distribution of single-use plastic bags.
And again, a second reading.
Ordinance number 5018, an ordinance restricting the distribution of single-use plastic bags.
And we'll ask Melissa to conduct a poll of the council with Council President Menke last.
Councillor Drapkin?
Yay.
Councillor Garvin?
Yay.
Councillor Jeffries?
Aye.
Councillor Stassens?
Aye.
Councillor Rudin?
Aye.
And Council President Menke.
Aye.
The voting has been unanimous, 6-0, and so we pass ordinance 5018, and this will take an effect in 30 days, and will follow then the timeline that's placed in the ordinance, which, if I'm not mistaken, 6 months for the larger grocery stores, a year for the smaller ones, and then special needs can come to us, and hardship we will address. So thank you, Council, for your discussion, and it takes us to ordinance number 5019, an ordinance repealing ordinance 5010 and resolution 26-7 pertaining to the Committee for Public Art. And David, I'll turn that over to you also.
Very good. So this is an ordinance that would repeal council ordinance or city ordinance number 5010, as well as city resolution number 2016-72. The council may or may not recall, in partnership with the city of McMinnville, the McMinnville Downtown Association Committee for Public Art was established in 2007 with the goal of placing quality art pieces in public spaces to give citizens and visitors to historic downtown McMinnville an opportunity to interact with art as an integral part of the design of the community. To promote the continuing development and maintenance of the art collection within the downtown historic district, as well as to extend that work throughout the city, the MDA and the MDA Committee for Public Art requested that the city create a new McMinnville Committee for Public Art to serve as a successor to the MDA Committee for Public Art. The council moved forward to create that city committee with the adoption of ordinance number 5010, which took effect October 22nd, 2016. And in addition, at that same meeting, the city established standards, procedures, and guidelines for the operation of the MCMinnville Committee for Public Art through the adoption of Resolution 2016-72. Following a 3-month trial period, members of the MCMinnville CPA and the MDA have determined that the work of the Committee for Public Art can be most efficiently accomplished by reverting back to the nonprofit umbrella coming out from under the city's control. Therefore, we brought forward resolution number 5019, which would repeal the prior ordinance and allow the committee to revert back to the MCMinnville Downtown Association.
Thank you, David. Any discussion at the council level?
And I would note that Steve Rupp is here, the chair of the committee, if you had any questions as well.
Yeah, Steve, if you would have any comments you'd like to make before we vote on the ordinance?
Well, that's what we'd like to have happen.
Well, again, our involvement with you, whether it be through the city or through the MDA, you have been a great advocate for art in this community, and it has been one that we've had for quite a while. And if you want to get it done, we turn it over to Steve and it gets done. And we're becoming a city that's being known for our art. And I think we're just at the start of more to come with that partnership between the city and now, if it goes back to the MDA, the MCMinnville the MCMinnville Downtown Art Association. So, thank you, and I know you've got a lot that supports you and help to take our thanks back to them also. Okay, if there's no other discussion, David, would you read the ordinance by title only?
Yes, this is ordinance number 5019, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 5010 and resolution number 2016-72.
Would you read it again for second reading?
This is ordinance number 5019, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 5010 and resolution number 2016-72.
And Melissa, would you poll the council with Council President Menke last?
Okay. Counselor Drabkin?
Yay.
Counselor Garvin?
Yay.
Counselor Jeffries?
Yay?
Counselor Stassens?
Aye.
Counselor Rudin?
Aye.
Council President Menke?
Aye.
And the voting has been unanimous, and we've passed ordinance 5019, and this will take effect within 30 days. So, Steve, you can take that message back to the group. And again, we surely appreciate the relationship we've had, but this gives you much more flexibility as we've talked about. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, we really appreciate the relationship as well. And we really appreciate all the support we've gotten over the years. It's been a very good, and I hope will continue to be a very good relationship.
Great. Well, that takes us into our resolutions for this evening. Resolution number 2017-09, a resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to enter into and manage a partnership agreement with Lafayette for a substation use. And so our fire chief, Rich, would you update us on and report to us on this?
Mr. Mayor and councilors, for those of you that recall the outstanding high-definition PowerPoint presentations I did back in 2009 about our ambulance service levels and decisions that the council made in keeping the service within the fire department, at that time, council gave me direction to do what we could to try and improve service levels and maintain the service levels and as well as improve our service levels, both with ambulance and fire, with all of those resources still being applied from within our fire department. We've worked towards partnerships with initial start with Newburgh Fire Department, which took a turn, and they ended up partnering with their neighbors to the north. But we didn't quit on that, and we kept moving forward with partnership opportunities. And the Amity project was our first step into partnerships, and subsequently the Lafayette partnership that we're moving into currently will provide this initial contract will provide for an existing ambulance out of our current resources, the one that's deployed out of Baker Creek. To be deployed from the Lafayette fire station Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. The contract is for the use of one half of the duplex right behind the fire station for office quarters for our ambulance crew for the Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The long-term hopes that we would demonstrate that this substation and the location of our apparatus would allow us to have a response times that met our response time standards for both ambulance and fire into the north end of the city. Our current computer mapping modules do demonstrate that it is capable, but we want to demonstrate it with live wheels on the ground to ensure that we're not selling anyone short. If it is successful, it would be the first step towards a partnership where the city of Lafayette, their goal is to build a new fire station. They are anticipating going out to bond in the not too distant future for that purpose. And if it were successful, they would build living quarters in there. We would establish an ambulance with firefighters deployed out of that station. The benefits to the city would, in the long term, would be allowing us to respond into the north end of McMinnville with fire apparatus or in ambulances and still meet our response time requirements without having to build a substation and partner in that capacity. It also, using the 190 agreements that are authorized by state, allows us to, as recommended by council when we first started looking at the Newburgh project, it allows us to work one segment of a time into an operational partnership rather than trying to throw all of the pieces together in one spot. So this is a good starting point for the city of McMinnville and the city of Lafayette and their fire departments to start moving in a direction which could be a lot further long-term opportunities for both communities. And this Lafayette City Council approved, authorized their administrator to execute the contract Thursday night at their council meeting.
Thank you, Chief. Discussions or questions from members of the council?
I think this is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for all of your work on it. And I hope that the data comes back, that it proves itself to be a success and we can move forward.
Thank you.
I would agree. I think the ingenuity and the creativity to collaborate with other communities is exceptional, and I'm hoping that we have great success with it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for thinking outside the box and growing our district and getting our response times where they need to be, all the while saving us some capital dollars possibly in the future. Very appreciated. Okay.
We can just hope that it would be as successful as our agreement with Amity and twice the half the time payback. But it goes to show me how our department heads are working together to help us in our budget. And we had our budget discussion tonight, and we're going to all have to pull together and come up with other ways of accomplishing what we need to accomplish. And absolutely, this is an area that we truly need to accomplish. You know, we've talked, and Kevin would understand this, but we've talked many times how our response times need to be at a level that we can get the best rating on our home insurance, because we would hate to put that extra burden on our citizens to be paying more in home insurance because we can't respond. And I think this is another way of utilizing a technique that's going to make us all whole through the process. So thank you, Chief. So I'll ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
I so moved. Second.
And, okay, everybody wants to attach their name to this one. It has been
For
moved.
the record, that's Drabkin moved and seconded.
Council President Menke, and it has been seconded by Councilor Rudin is who I heard first. All those in favor may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, this resolution has passed unanimously 6-0. Resolution number 2017-10, a resolution awarding the contract for the construction of City Park renovations, project number 2016-12. Jay, we'll turn it over to you for a brief explanation of this resolution.
make them more interconnected in the park. And we've got some other plaza improvements between the new shelter for our little cook shelter and the existing picnic shelter that will add some accessibility materials so that the surface is much easier to get across. Unit pavers. We've got some other pathway work to do. So we invited proposals to do that work in January. The deadline was January 26th, at which time we received 4 proposals, one from Glacier Construction of Amity, Emery & Sons Construction Group of Salem, Banzer Construction of Salem, and Blue Spruce Builders of Dallas. Based on our criteria, Glacier Construction was the firm that provided sort of the best combination of experience and price, and for that reason we're recommending that you approve the resolution awarding the contract to Glacier Construction for those improvements.
Thank you, Jay. Any discussion at the council level? We had an opportunity to talk about this at our dinner meeting tonight. Hearing no discussion, I call for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Councillor Stassens and seconded by Councillor Garvin. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. This resolution has passed unanimously. That moves us to Resolution 2017-11, and this is a resolution awarding the contract for the Northeast Alpine Avenue Improvement Project, project number 2016-8. Mike, if you'd update us.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. You will recall that one of the key projects in the 2014 transportation bond approved by the voters was improvements to Alpine Avenue in the city's Northeast Gateway District. Alpine Avenue, as envisioned in that plan, is a key element of the district. It's a central spine, which will include a pedestrian-friendly environment, festival atmosphere street that will allow for and hopefully encourage redevelopment within the district. The bond measure included about $2.1 million worth of funding for improvements to Alpine. Subsequent to the bond measure, the Urban Renewal Agency, at the recommendation of the MCMinnville Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, voted to include $2.2 million worth of urban renewal funds to add to the project and increase the improvements that were planned. We originally bid the work in late last calendar year. The first round of bids were beyond the construction budget available for the project, and so the project design team worked to redesign elements of the project, simplify construction methods, particularly related to the concrete elements in the street, and work to spec more affordable streetscape features. The Urban Renewal Advisory Committee reviewed those revisions, and upon their approval, the project was rebid. Bids were opened on February 2nd at 2 p.m. We received 9 bids, had great response to the work. The work included 3 elements: a base bid, which was the Festival District between 7th and 10th, additive alternate number 1, which was the Craft District between 10th and 11th, and then a second additive alternate, which included water and electrical improvements for MCMinnville Water and Light. The low bidder is Emery & Sons Construction Group. The bid that they submitted for the city's portion of the work was approximately $3.1 million. That is within the available construction funds of $3.4 million. So staff is recommending this evening that you award the base bid and the additive alternate number 1. MCMinnville Water and Light has also reviewed the bids for their portion of the work and has agreed to accept the bid from Emery & Sons for additive alternate number 2. And therefore, the resolution before you recommends awarding base bid and both additive alternates. Upon your approval this evening, we expect construction to start in March. Construction will take place all of this construction season up to expected grape harvest and crush. We'll take a break from construction during that time frame because it's a very active part of the district. And then we'll be back next spring to finish the project and hopefully have a successful completion early calendar year 2018. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend that the council approve the resolution as presented.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion among council? We've spent quite a little time on that, and I recognize Walt Gow out in the audience who can take this information back to MURAC that has put a lot of time into this. Again, timing is everything, and the funds availability along with our transportation and our urban renewal dollars are going to make this thing come to fruition. So again, if no discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
I'm sorry, just before the motion, I just
Okay.
need to declare a potential conflict of interest as I operate a business in the urban renewal area, but it won't affect my voting this evening.
Yeah.
Okay. And Alan?
Well, just that great report and good job, Mike and your staff. It's been a long time coming. That's what I wanted to say right now is that this has been going on for years. Methodical, hard work by a lot of individuals and staff members and agencies across the board. And I just wanted to recognize that because there's been a lot of work in that Northeast Gateway project done so far by a lot of individuals, business owners, and so on that have moved the Northeast Gateway project area forward in a positive way. And this just seems to be the signature, the bow that ties the whole package together, is creating this festival street that is just going to be wonderful. And it's well-funded and strategized, and I'm very excited about it to see it get started and see what we can make of it as a community, because it's going to be a community-based festival street. There'll be so many activities that we probably don't even realize right now, but kind of a centerpiece for that area and our downtown core, which is really great to see. So congratulations on all that work and the redesign. We spent a little bit of extra money on redesign, nothing major. Far surpassed the savings, or far less than the savings that we ultimately achieved. So that was great news there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Any other comments? Hearing none, then I will call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It has been moved by Councilor Rudin and seconded by Councilor Stassens. All those in favor may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed may signify by saying nay. This resolution passes 5 with 1 abstention. Okay, let's go to Resolution 2017-12, a resolution establishing a list of firms qualified to provide consulting services related to the design and construction of sanitary sewer rehabilitation and repair projects. Mike, if you'd update us.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'll refer you to the staff report and attachments that are in the packet, as well as the draft resolution that you have before you this evening. And we'll simply state that what you have before you is the completion of a request for qualifications process to pick qualified design firms to help us with our sewer rehab and repair projects. There are a number of those projects ahead of us over the next few fiscal years, and this list will allow us to move forward with negotiations of scope of work and costs related to design. Those future contracts for design will be brought back to the council for review and consideration before they're adopted. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend that you adopt the resolution as presented.
Okay. Any comments? And we had a discussion at the dinner table tonight, and so if no comments, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have moved by Councilor Drabkin and seconded by Councilor Rudin. All those in favor may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by saying nay. This resolution passes unanimously. Now, we have a couple of add items tonight before we get to our last two resolutions. The first one, and will we give a resolution number to these, Melissa, or they're not necessary? Okay. We have before us tonight, we've been working on our committee assignments of those within the city and some of those which are a part of the county. And Council President Menke is coming off the YCOM and the Yamhill County Communication Technical Force, and we submit the name of Adam Garvin to take Kelly's place on the YCOM board. This needs to come before the council for us to then let the county know. And so any discussion that we need to have before we bring Adam's name before the council? I think we're all
Highly recommend Adam. He understands radios, and that's an important thing.
Okay. So we have the name of Adam Garvin before us to represent the city council on the YCOM board. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, nay? Okay. And then we have one other piece of business. We have one other company that's come before us for a new liquor license. And help me remember who that might be. Momiji has come before us to apply for a new liquor license, and that's not a resolution either, is it?
No.
Okay. And so that is before the board, or the council tonight. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor may indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed indicate by saying nay. Okay, that takes us to our last two resolutions tonight, and just to not make things complicated, we've moved things around a little bit. And so resolution number 2017-13 is a resolution approving an employment agreement with Jeffrey Towery. And so David, I'm going to turn that this over to you to update us.
Okay. The council conducted interviews earlier this year with candidates for the vacant position of city manager, and moved forward with a conditional offer subject to background checks for Jeff Towery to serve as the next city manager for the city of McMinnville. Those all came back glowing. It is to be reported. And so we have before you tonight resolution number 2017-13, which would authorize a formal offer of employment. And I happen to have before me the employment agreement contract itself, which you would be authorizing the mayor and Mr. Towery to execute to secure his appointment effective tomorrow, it looks like.
So discussions around the council as it relates to this employment agreement. Okay, hearing none. I'm going to say a few things.
We're excited.
We are very much excited. I'll tell you, we have done had an extensive opportunity to work from 30 candidates down to one. And Jeff really has set himself apart as we've gone through the process. And not only impressive to the council, but to department heads, business leaders, and the public. We've given everyone an opportunity to have a voice in this. And so we're very pleased this evening. Councilor Rudin and myself had an opportunity to go down to Springfield for a half a day and talk to former employees and peers down there. And I'll tell you, an individual that has such broad experience, we're lucky to have come on board. One that mentors and one that's a partner with department heads, and we felt that. Alan and I walked away without a doubt that the things that we had read about and the interviews that we had we had participated in were truly what he's all about. So it is exciting tonight to get to this point of being able to offer this employment agreement. So hearing no discussion from you guys other than a thumbs up, I would ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved. Second.
Okay,
Got it.
and I'm going to guess.
Do we have a third?
Councilor Jeffries and Councilor Rudin have moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed signify by saying nay. Jeff, we're going to have you come up for a moment. We're going to do the ceremonial thing in just a moment, but I would like to have you have an opportunity to bring your wife with you. She's made this long journey today with you, and on behalf of the council, Doris, thank you for making the trip today, and thank you for being a part of this. It's a hug.
I was going to say, I'm a hugger. So.
So come up here, because just a few comments from the two of you, if you would.
Did you want to say something first time? No, she's not going to say it. Thank you to the mayor and council for all the staff people and community members who were involved in the process. I'm just truly humbled and honored to be in this position tonight. I'm convinced that every step along the way has been part of my journey to MCMinnville, and I truly look forward to being part of this community. Thank you so much.
And again, Jeff and Doris bring two children with them, and they're in the process of moving into our community. And as we'd indicated, contract signed tonight, starts tomorrow, and we're looking forward to that. So thank you, and we'll get signatures in just a moment. Thanks, you two. Now that was the suite. The bidder is a resolution 2017-14, a resolution amending the termination date of the interim city manager's employment agreement with Candace Haynes. And I'm not going to turn it over to you, Dave. I'll try to do this. Candace will be with us through the end of this week, and as of tomorrow, she will be the interim deputy district manager. Jeff is going to be taking off on a commitment that he has with the National City Managers Association, and so Candace will be with us for 3 more days. But I want you to know how much we appreciate her. She is a person that has, we called her out of retirement, Kelly initially, and then I called her out of retirement because we needed her special skill to be able to bring our team back together and to help us know what we were made out of. And she happily did that, and she's done a phenomenal job. And so tonight, we do this resolution, which doesn't sound really nice of us. So we likewise would like to recognize you with something for Valentine's Day, just to show our appreciation and our love for what you've done for this city. And you and I have had many talks, and we know that you've enjoyed it too, but it's going to be nice to be able to get back to retired life a bit and have control of the things that are in your life. And so with that being said, I'm going to just open it up to any comments that the council would have for Candace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candace, it's been so fun to have you be a part of this again, and you just were the ideal person to come and kind of pull everything together and make everybody feel like we were one group again, and we really genuinely appreciate all you've done. And I think you're going to be just a little bit sad about leaving, too.
The city and the people, yes. Don't want to leave the city or the people.
When she came, she said, I'll do it for my city. So we appreciate it so much.
Any other comments?
Well,
Alan?
we just have felt this connection with Candace for so many years, but especially now, coming back and foregoing the road trips and everything that you really want to get going on. Just the feeling of community with you and your love for the city, and that it really came through, and it did pull us together. We really appreciate that. It made a huge difference on this interim basis. So we'll be sorry to see you leave, but happy to see you get new tires for your RV or whatever. And get going.
Thank you, Alan.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more that I can add, except that I'm a new counselor. I haven't had as much opportunity to work with you, but through the Planning Commission, we got to get to know each other. And just the exceptional humility and service and kindness, and it was just what we needed to bring us all together. And the load that you carried to get us to where we are right now is, I mean, I just can't express how much I appreciate that. So thank you.
I know department heads feel the same way. I've talked to many of them, but if any of the department heads here would just like to share anything, I'm going to open it up just to department heads, and then we'll take a vote on our resolution. Anyone? Okay. Here. So we have Resolution 2017-14, a resolution amending the termination date of the interim city manager's employment agreement with Candace Haynes. I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Has been moved by Councillor Stassens and seconded by Councillor Rudin. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed by nay? Again, thank you. And so. Any words for us, Candace? I know you are.
Oh, I'm such a public speaker.
But we've been working on that, so let's see if we can get.
My goal is to always get through every meeting without having to say a word. But thank you all, and I've already thanked most of the counselors, but anybody I've missed, thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been, my 16 years here as city attorney were outrageous, but this last 4.5 months has been so eye-opening and so wonderful, and I just want to thank everybody. I was terrified going into this job, and a friend of mine who is a retired city manager said, don't worry, the department heads will want to make you look good, so they'll work on that. Oh my gosh, I could not have asked for more. Of course, I love my council, I always have. I just can't say enough. And this wonderful, magical city of ours is just such a marvelous place. So thank you very much, and thank you, council, for the opportunity.
Well, with that, we have just a few more things, and we're going to have a little reception afterwards. So those that are here, we've got, I think, some punch and cookies, or at least red. No. Inside joke, just inside joke. So what I'm going to do is keep this title on and take that home with you. I'm going to move this right here, and we'll let you sit anywhere you would like to for a moment. We'll have Jeff come up, and then we're just, the last part of our meeting would be having advice and information and reports from counselors, and then we'll have the reception right after that. So let's start with Adam. Any reports for us from assignments that you're on?
YCOM board met last Thursday. There's talk about some obsolete software that we have that's on the horizon for replacement. And countywide, they're going to move a couple relay towers to Dayton and on top of the Sheridan Fire Department, but that doesn't really affect our city operations. That might affect Rich's ambulance relays, but it'll be seamless. And only other thing really on the horizon is the ability to text 911. I guess from what I gathered at that meeting was the plan was it would roll out in the next 3 to 5 years, but the state's kind of accelerated that program, and so we're trying to grapple with how to move forward with that and what reimbursement grants are out there if we do that before the end of this fiscal year. So I'll have a report on that after next month's meeting.
Thank you. Kevin?
At the COG, we're meeting on Thursday to go over a recruitment process to find a permanent director for the COG. As you may or may not know, Jenny Mesmer has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she's been battling that, and she's still on long-term disability. She's going through treatment for that, but we have we're going to have to. She's asked that we find a permanent replacement for her.
And Nancy's kind of doing an interim stint.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we brought Nancy out of retirement and is going to help us through the recruitment process for that. And yeah, the staff and everyone's just kind of pulling together and trying to be supportive to Jenny as much as possible and keep the work going forward. It's kind of a scary situation over there right now, but everyone's just keeping the work going.
Okay. Thank you. Kelly?
Well, the DMO group met in January, early January, I think, and they did goal setting. And tomorrow we're all going to sit down and have a facilitator come and talk to us about the goals that we set and kind of finalize the overall plan for the next year. So it's a very exciting and fun group to be a part of, and I'm looking forward to it. A comment on the audit committee. I just wanted to reiterate what Scott said, that as wonderful, as much as we love Marcia and her whole team, they couldn't do it without the other department heads, and it's so important to recognize the fact that you guys are the ones that keep our internal control good, and you've all been very helpful in making the audit work well. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wendy?
My primary has been the urban renewal, and we've heard a lot about that, so I don't really have anything new to report other than what we've been looking at.
Okay. Remy?
Affordable Housing Task Force has launched a subcommittee that's focused solely on homelessness. We met and have identified community stakeholders that we'd like to be involved in that conversation, and successfully have the county working with us on that subcommittee. And so at this point we're moving forward to talk to all the different people we'd like to see represented to try to get that group more solidly formed and look for a lot of exciting things to come.
Alan?
Well, I cannot offer no good advice. But I will offer just what the Airport Commission is up to these days. Working with Connect Aviation, the managers of the airport, they're trying to get their legs underneath them and find their stride to move the airport along and their business plan along. And also dealing with the upcoming reconstruction of the runway out there at the airport, which is due to start this year, I believe, still. So, and other than that, the commission deals with everyday matters of maintenance, complaints, traffic, things like that on a day-to-day basis. That's about it.
Thank you. I've had an opportunity to be to many committee meetings, and I'll probably do that for a while just so I can become informed on what they're doing. But I did last Wednesday have the opportunity to go to the Cities Day at the Capitol that was put on by the League of Oregon Cities. And just to give you the four priorities, legislative priorities for the LOC: property tax reform, recreational immunity, transportation funding, and PERS would be the four things that LOC is really focused on. We had an opportunity to have the governor come in and talk to us, and her top three items would be education, more high school students graduating, number two, healthcare for all children, and number three would be transportation, the retrofitting for earthquakes, our roads and bridges, with a real priority in the Portland metropolitan area because of the congestion there, earthquake, strengthening bridge and roads, and public transit. They're sitting right now with a $1.8 billion gap that they're working on that is going to be part of what is going to be what they're focusing. Both sides of the Senate and the House talk about that this is going to be a very difficult session coming up. Had an opportunity to spend time with Senator Boquist and Representative Noble and just sharing our thoughts from MCMinnville. So anyone would like to get some more information on that, I'd be willing to share that with. Really quickly, going around department heads, anything from Matt, from you? Jay?
Our brochure is out this week, so you can probably look for that in the mail. Our community center supervisor here in Johnson, 7 years, has accepted the job of special Olympics Oregon. He'll be leaving in a couple of weeks, take the position, statewide position, creating new programs at high school levels for joint sports operations. So we'll be kind of hitting the hunt, meeting with staff and kind of discuss that. You mentioned recreation community. We might be bringing something back. I think we know about that, Scott. Council to see if you might join the league and other organizations around the state that are trying to put that recreation community issue sort of back into the manner in which it was originally intended. So maybe we'll bring a resolution to you. Just thanks for a great job in the process that we've shared in the last several months. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jay. Marcia? Mike?
Well, I do have some really exciting engineering proposals I could read into the record. but
We'll do that at 9 o'clock.
There's more fun things ahead of us, so nothing further.
Thank you, Mike. Melissa? David?
No.
And Candace, any last words?
No, thank you.
With that, again, we'll have the reception, we'll do a little signing, and we will close the council meeting. Thank you.